Chapter 1. Happiness. Are we in control? In order to answer this question, I need to tell you a little bit about our emotions. We are all aware that there are two types of emotion in life, the positive and the negative. But have you ever asked yourself what emotions are? When we feel an emotion, we sometimes find ourselves caught up in an overwhelming wave of energy. Sometimes we feel this energy actually taking over our mind and body. But what exactly are emotions, and why do we even experience them? It has long been understood that humans experience a range of feelings within them. These feelings range in level of strength and intensity. Emotions is the collective word used to describe this set of feelings, but very few of us have stopped to ask ourselves what emotions actually are and why they even exist. What's incredible, however, is that if you delve into the history of the word emotion, you do begin to find some answers. The word emotion tells us a lot because it is actually derived from a Latin word, emotere, which literally means energy in motion. It makes sense to us then that emotions are energy in motion because of how they feel when we experience them. If you have ever been angry with someone, you feel the anger as an energy force within your body. You tense up, your body responds. Your breathing speeds up and you become flooded with a feeling. People describe anger as seeing red. It's like your body takes over. If you have ever been in any kind of argument with anyone at all, you would have felt this emotion. Of course, the same can be said for intense feelings of happiness. Think back to a tremendously happy experience you have had, and you will remember the feeling as overwhelming. Maybe it was seeing your child for the first time, or a feeling you had on your wedding day. These feelings seem to lift us up and give us energy. In fact, the feeling of intense joy gives us plenty of energy, and the opposite feelings of intense negativity tend to drain us. So it makes sense that emotions are energy in motion. But what does this mean for you and I? Emotions are actually a very important thing for us as humans to understand, because it is this group of feelings that make up our entire life experience. Whatever we do in life and wherever we go in life, emotions hold the key to what kind of an existence we have while we are here. So if emotions decide our whole life experience, isn't it fair to ask ourselves if we are in control of this energy, or of course, if this energy is in control of us? Many today would argue that our thoughts and emotions are in control of us, but I have come to believe that this is not the case. Even though they are powerful things, emotions are still within our control. We know this to be the case when we dig a little deeper into the world of the emotion. On the surface, it feels like emotions drag us in all kinds of directions, and that's what makes it seem like they are in control of you, and why they feel so powerful. But when you dig a little deeper, you realize that our emotions are not the things that cause the problem. It is actually how we use them that controls how we feel in any given moment. Most of us are simply unaware of how emotions work, but when you look at life itself, you begin to see what actually happens. So why do some emotions feel good and some emotions feel bad? Most of our emotions are in response to the world around us, and depending on how we have been brought up, depends on how we feel when different things happen. You can test this theory for yourself by picking something you enjoy doing in your life today and asking yourself why you enjoy it. What is the reason why you find enjoyment in this particular experience? Look back on your life and you will probably be able to see when you first enjoyed this type of experience and why. For example, I always loved eating out far more than eating in, and I asked myself why this was. As I pondered the subject, I remembered that my parents would take us out to eat as a treat. This meant that I grew up thinking eating out was a treat for me, and so I enjoyed it far more than eating in. I was amazed. I had been trained to enjoy eating out. This made me ask myself if there were other things just like eating out that represented enjoyment to me only because of a past good experience. I was shocked to find that almost everything I found enjoyment in was because I had been trained to believe that I would. This is a simple exercise, but one that reminds us how much of our emotions, good and bad, are responding to the experiences simply because of what we were taught. And this begs us to ask the question, can we actually change these emotional responses? The answer to this became very clear to me during a recent experience I had. In one foul swoop, I became homeless, jobless, and lost connection to the people around me. Although my first response was to become angry, frustrated, upset, hurt, fearful, helpless, and negative, I began to ask myself if I really needed to feel so bad. I began to wonder if there could be a good side to the whole experience, and I began to ask myself to look for it. I actually went on a search to find the good in what appeared to me all bad. And I did. I found that even though the experience seemed totally negative, it was only the way I was looking at the experience that truly made it negative. When I decided to move my thoughts onto the positive, I began to see that there was an opportunity for me to start a brand new adventure, a brand new career. I could use my skills and follow some personal dreams, and spend quality time with people I loved. I began to see a whole new experience before me. I saw the experience of leaving my job, my home, and my team as freeing and incredibly enlightening. In fact, that experience is what made me write this book. It made me so excited to think of all the things I could do, and I began to realize that I could view the experience in any way I wished to. I didn't have to think about it as a bad experience. This made me think back over my life and ask myself some really important questions. Was every experience that I thought was bad really that bad? I asked myself. And as I went through each experience that I had in my life, I found that each one was actually good for me in the end, even if it had felt terrible at the time. And I realized something incredible. Nothing that had ever happened to me had actually been good or bad. In fact, each experience could have been described in two different ways depending on how I interpreted them. How I looked at my life situations, past or present, would change how they felt to me. This was profound for me. It made me understand that no matter what went on in my life, I was in control of how it affected me, and if I wanted to, I could choose it to all affect me in a positive way. So, what does that mean for our emotions? If we can change how an experience feels to us simply by changing the way we describe the experience, doesn't that mean that we are in control of every emotion we feel? Yes. In order for you to believe this, try it out in your life. Look back. Pick an experience that you either thought of as good or bad. It is better to pick bad experiences and make them feel good, but you can do it vice versa to prove the point to yourself. Take the experience that you thought was bad and ask yourself, was there anything good that I experienced during this, and how could I describe those good things? Ask your brain to find the good. You will find that it is actually very efficient doing so. Now ask yourself about the experience you are in right now. Is there something you could find that feels good? Then do it. Ask your brain for the good in this moment, and I am pretty sure you will find it. Many people who discover that they can find the good in any situation find that it is an extremely freeing experience for them. But is there another reason to feel good? other than to feel good? Well, I'm glad you asked. Remember that emotions are actually energy in motion? In Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, Einstein is actually telling us that energy equals matter. So if energy is actually matter, then our emotions must also be equal to matter. But what does this mean in simple terms? Simply put, when we feel something, we are actually forming something physical or affecting something physical around us. Dr. Emoto, a famous author, researcher, and entrepreneur, proved this theory when he decided to affect water by sending it the vibes of love and blessing. Just by his intention, just by his thought, his emotion, just by describing the water as blessed, it actually changed the molecular structure of the water. His emotions actually affected the water and changed it. Now, just let that sink in for a moment. His emotions actually affected the water and changed the molecular structure of the water. Now, this actually becomes mind-blowing when you give it some time to settle in. If we can change the molecular structure of water just by intention, it begs us to ask the question, can we change ourselves and our lives with intention? Think about it. How do you describe your life? What is your general view on life? Is life an adventure? Is it sometimes good and sometimes bad? Is it mostly good or mostly bad? Would you describe yourself as blessed? What if you describing yourself as blessed could actually make you feel and be blessed? What would that encourage you to describe yourself, your life as such? Right now, I am living the dream. I have the time to write about what I love. I am sitting here in the early hours of the day writing about a subject I am passionate about, and I feel blessed. However, if I wanted to, I could look for something negative in this moment. I could do that also. It would be easy, but I don't think it is necessary, so I am simply going to look for the reason I feel blessed instead. It makes sense when we think of Einstein's equation and Dr. Emoto's studies that our emotions also have an impact on our physical health, our physical appearance, and our relationships with those around us. Emotions are extremely influential upon the physical world around us. So what can we do about it? And more importantly, why would we want to? Imagine a world where everyone set out to be happy. In fact, imagine if the only goal of the human race was happiness, and everything else paled into insignificance that went beyond that. If emotion is energy, and energy is matter, then surely positive energy creates positive experiences, and negative energy creates negative experiences. Imagine the effect that our happiness as a race could have on this world. I imagine that it would make us abundant in every area of our lives. We would all have plenty of money to enjoy life and to have the experiences we desired. We would all have fulfilling and plentiful relationships with those around us, and we would all be far happier and healthier people. But it's not that easy, is it?